Chapter 1082. Looking at Bailey Hongzhuang's mournful and desolate face, Di Beichen's heart ached. Ever since he had known Bailey Hongzhuang had always been strong. Nothing could defeat her. In Bailey Hongzhuang, he could always see a kind of strength that was unafraid and unafraid. No matter how difficult the trial was, she never knew what it meant to be discouraged, or what it meant to give up. He had only seen Bailey Hongzhuang's pale face due to her serious injuries, but even at that moment, Bailey Hongzhuang's lips could still blossom into a strong smile, like a winter plum, strong and unyielding. However, at this moment, he saw her frailty, pain and helplessness. After losing her strong appearance, after encountering such a situation, Bailey Hongzhuang's helplessness made his heart ache. She was only a 16-year-old girl, but she had to bear such a deep blood feud. Moreover, her enemies were the powerful Yu clan and Lan clan. He was so worried that Bailey Hongzhuang's small body wouldn't be able to take it. Di Beichen held Bailey Hongzhuang's hand tightly. "My wife, you have to believe me. I will definitely save them." His deep and dignified eyes flashed with a resolute light. Di Beichen secretly swore in his heart that no matter what, he would definitely do it. Even if it was very difficult, so difficult that it was hard for him to do it, he believed that there would always be a way out. As long as they thought of a way, as long as the Yu clan really did it, then they would definitely be able to think of a way to save them. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly, looking at Di Beichen as if she was looking at her last life-saving straw. She was so powerless now. The time given to her was too short. She wasn't strong enough to face the Lan clan and Yu clan, those kind of colossal forces. Currently, she could only rely on Di Beichen's strength and rely on him to save her parents. "I believe in you." Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. She knew too many things today, making it hard for her to bear. Her entire mind was in a mess. "My wife, maybe the situation isn't as bad as we think. Your parents have been trapped in the Yu clan for so long, but they have been persevering all this time. This proves that they still have hope in their hearts. Moreover, other than going to the Yu clan a little enthusiastically, Lan Jingquang has been going there less and less. After all, he has been flaunting his strength for so long. He doesn't need to prove everything to your parents. Now, your parents should have a chance. As long as you give us a little more time, we will definitely be able to do it." No matter what, no matter what, he had to help her reunites to Yu family. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. She also understood the meaning of Di Beichen. Now that 15 years had passed, she believed that Lan Jingquang and Yu Manlan had shifted their attention to other places and relaxed their watch over her parents. She believed that although Lan Yunxiao and Yu Manlan had lost their freedom, they wouldn't suffer too much during this period. "We still have time. They will definitely wait for us to save them," Di Beichen emphasized. He wanted to pass on his strength to Bailey Hongzhuang. "My wife, you are their hope. Don't be discouraged." Chapter 1083. Bailey Hongzhuang stared at Di Beichen. She could feel the power that Di Beichen was transmitting to her. She nodded heavily. "I understand." Her originally dark phoenix eyes were once again filled with a resplendent and resolute light. "I will definitely take back everything that belongs to me with my own hands." She, Bailey Hongzhuang, had never had the habit of letting her things fall into the hands of others. Now that she knew everything, she was going to take it all back. Those fellows who stole her family's things and were still immensely pleased with themselves, she would personally let them taste the taste of pain. She wouldn't fall, and she couldn't fall. Lan Yunxiao and Mu Lingbing had given up everything for her, endured humiliation, and abandoned their dignity just so that she could live on. And now, it was time for her to work hard for her parents. Di Beichen looked at Bailey Hongzhuang's small face brimming with stubbornness, and his nervous heart quietly relaxed a little. At least, Hongzhuang wasn't crushed by this enormous pressure. Pressure was often a good thing for cultivators. Only with pressure would there be motivation, and pressure was often the motivation for cultivators to move forward. The only difference was that the pressure was too great and too heavy. He thought about it for a long time before he told Hong Zhuang about the cause and effect of the situation. He was worried that once Hong Zhuang couldn't bear this pressure, she would completely collapse and never be able to recover from this setback. Cultivators like this could be found everywhere, and he had seen too many cultivators with weak wills. Similarly, once Bailey Hongzhuang could bear this pressure, she would become different. Her will would become even more tenacious, and no one would be able to destroy it. Fortunately, Hongzhuang had passed this hurdle, just as he had guessed. However, Hongzhuang's determination at that moment made his heart ache. Di Beichen hugged Bailey Hongzhuang again, his low and resolute voice ringing out from Bailey Hongzhuang's side. "No matter what, I will always be by your side." He would always be by Hongzhuang's side and wouldn't let her bear this alone. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. Di Beichen was the only person she could rely on now. Fortunately, he was by her side. Otherwise, it would be even more difficult for her to do this. "You're tired. Have a good rest," Di Beichen said with concern as he looked at Bailey Hongzhuang's pale face. "Have a good rest first. As for these things, you can think about them tomorrow." Di Beichen held Bailey Hongzhuang's little hand and was about to return to the room when he realized that his hand was wet. Upon closer inspection, Di Beichen realized that his hand was wet with blood. Di Beichen couldn't help but be startled when he realized this. He immediately grabbed Bailey Hongzhuang's little hand, only to realize that her fair and tender little hand was already covered in blood, and there were deep crescent-shaped scars on her palm. Di Beichen finally understood that Bailey Hongzhuang was using this method to vent her stress. "Does it hurt?" Di Beichen spread out Bailey Hongzhuang's little hand. Seeing her so sad, he felt as if a knife was being twisted in his heart. "You can't control what happened back then. Don't punish yourself with other people's mistakes. They will definitely be punished." Bailey Hongzhuang didn't answer. She understood the meaning of Di Beichen's words, but it wasn't so easy to face it calmly. She needed time to calm down. As long as she was given some time to think, she would face it with strength. Chapter 1084. Di Beichen knew that Bailey Hongzhuang didn't want to talk, so he didn't force her. He immediately pulled Bailey Hongzhuang to sit at the side, and carefully and meticulously treated Bailey Hongzhuang's wound. After cleaning the bloodstains, Di Beichen saw how deep the wound was, and how much strength Bailey Hongzhuang had used to pinch it. However, Bailey Hongzhuang didn't even frown from the beginning to the end, so he only noticed Bailey Hongzhuang's expression, and didn't notice her hands. After Di Beichen bandaged Bailey Hongzhuang's wound, he couldn't help but ask with concern, "Wife, you should rest in my room tonight." He was really worried about Bailey Hongzhuang when she was like this, and he only wanted to watch over her tonight. However, Bailey Hongzhuang shook her head. "Beichen, don't worry, I'm fine. My mind is a little messy, and I want to calm down by myself." Hearing this, Di Beichen carefully sized up Bailey Hongzhuang's expression. When he saw that Bailey Hongzhuang's expression was natural, and there wasn't any problem, he nodded and said, "All right, then you should have a good rest tonight." Di Beichen accompanied Bailey Hongzhuang out of the room, and the three beasts outside the door quickly hid after hearing their movements. Previously, they had been outside the door thinking of a way to get in. After all, they couldn't let their master leave them behind just like that. After hearing what Di Beichen had to say, they fell into silence as they were thinking of ways to deal with the situation outside the house. Previously, they were very curious about their master's background, but no one would have thought that so many things had happened that year, and that their master's life had been completely rewritten. Xiao He and Xiao Bai knew that Bailey Hongzhuang had transmigrated from her previous life, but after obtaining the memories of this life's Bailey Hongzhuang, these two lives had become one, and there was no distinction between them. Their master had already died in her previous life, and she was now the continuation of Bailey Hongzhuang in this life. Therefore, everything that happened to Bailey Hongzhuang in this life was equivalent to their master's matters. This kind of background was really hard to accept. After seeing Bailey Hongzhuang enter the room and watching the door close, Di Beichen stood at the door for a long time, and only returned to the room after hearing that there was no movement inside. Some things could only be understood if the person involved had thought it through. He knew that Bailey Hongzhuang would be able to face everything calmly, but to suddenly know so many things, her feelings must be very complicated, and she would need time to sort them out. He believed that when he saw Bailey Hongzhuang tomorrow, Bailey Hongzhuang would pull herself together. His wife was always so strong. After Bewitching entered the house, the three beasts gathered together, but at this moment, the faces of the three beasts were flashing with anger. Damn Lan Jingquang's family, their methods are too despicable. Little Black's face was filled with resentment. Just by listening from outside the door, he wanted to tear that family apart and skin them alive. The Yu family will die a horrible death, and they still want to be a medical family? Their actions are so despicable. Where is the benevolence of a doctor? Baisher's eyes were burning with anger. This kind of family should simply disappear from Xingxian continent. The Lan family is also not good people. After such a thing happened, they still protect Lan Jingquang's family. I'm so angry. Chapter 1085. The three beasties understood that what disappointed Lan Yunxiao the most wasn't Lan Jingquang or the Yu clan, but the Lan clan's attitude. He used to think that everyone in his family supported him, but after such a thing happened, he felt as if he had been betrayed by everyone. Just imagining this feeling of anger and heartache was unbearable, let alone Lan Yunxiao himself. Just like how their master felt, their consolation was useless. Only Bailey Hongzhuang could bear it. After learning about the penguins, the three beasties put away their playful attitude. Before this, they didn't have any sense of urgency. Their only enemy was Han Shiling, and they believed that their master would have no problem dealing with Han Shiling. Thus, they had been very relaxed during this period of time. Now that they knew that their master still had a blood feud, they felt a sense of nervousness. They didn't have time to continue fooling around. They had to become stronger with their master. Xiao He, Xiao Bai, and Baisher looked at each other. They all understood what they were thinking. Clearly, they had the same idea. Let's go in and accompany master first. Be quiet and don't disturb her. Xiao He's eyes flickered with worry. At this time, they were really worried about leaving their master alone. They didn't want to disturb her and only wanted to accompany her quietly. This way, they could be at ease. Okay. Xiao Bai and Baisher nodded. The three beasties immediately tiptoed into the room. Bailey Hongzhuang lay on the bed, her gaze landing on the ceiling. She couldn't sleep. This matter had given her too much shock. Now that she thought about it carefully, she had two opponents, the Yu clan and the Lan clan. The Yu clan naturally didn't need to be mentioned. The reason why she and her parents had fallen to such a state was because of the Yu clan. If they hadn't relied on their superior medical skills, Lan Jingquang and Yu Manlan wouldn't have dared to do this. Because they had no way of extricating themselves. This so-called medical aristocratic family was truly vicious. Her ink-black phoenix eyes were filled with extreme hatred. When she thought about how her parents had abandoned their pride and begged the Yu clan for her, how the Yu clan had humiliated and killed them in every possible way, her hatred towards the Yu clan had reached its peak. More than 10 years had passed, and the Yu clan was still enjoying a great reputation in the Xingxian continent. However, she would personally end all of this for the Yu clan. Because they were not worthy. As for the Lan family, from the moment the Lan family chose to abandon their family, their original feelings were already gone. She didn't believe that the Lan family didn't know about the Yu family's pursuit of Lan Yunxiao. However, they hadn't done anything for so many years. Just from this point alone, it could be concluded that there was no longer any affection between them. As the head of an aristocratic family in her previous life, Bailey Hongzhuang knew very well that this was a common occurrence among aristocratic families. A cultivator who had lost his future, no matter how glorious he was in the past, would not be of any use in the future. For a clan, people with strength were the most important. Although many people could understand the situation of these aristocratic families, it was still somewhat lacking in humanity. If Lan Yunxiao didn't come from such a powerful cultivation family, the situation might have been different. Chapter 1086. Bailey Hongzhuang's mind was filled with thoughts. She was very clear on how powerful a cultivation aristocratic family was. If she wanted to overthrow them, she would have to have the ability to contend against them. This was undoubtedly difficult for the current her, but as long as she had the heart to do it, everything was possible. Even if there were countless dangers in front of her, she would ride the wind and break through all of them. Lan Yunxiao and Mu Lingbing's current situation was extremely bad, but it was impossible for her to save them in a short period of time. Di Beichen would help her think of a way. She also understood that even with Di Beichen's ability, it wouldn't be easy for him to accomplish all of this. After all, although Di Beichen was the young master of Tiangang's sect, he wasn't the true sect master yet. Tiangang's sect was on the same level as the Yu and Lan families. The Yu and Lan families were connected by marriage and stood on the same side. It was easy to imagine how difficult it would be for Di Beichen to accomplish this. Bailey Hongzhuang sighed faintly, but her eyes became increasingly resolute and bright. Now that things had reached this point, she had no other choice. She could only follow the most suitable path and walk down it step by step. She only hoped that her parents would be able to wait until the day she rescued them. While Bailey Hongzhuang was pondering, Di Beichen didn't rest. He understood that Hongzhuang was most concerned about her parents' safety. As long as they could save the two, then Hongzhuang would be much more at ease. As for the matter of revenge, they still had time to do it. But the matter of rescuing Lan Yunxiao and Mu Lingbing had to be done as soon as possible. He would think of a way to save them. No matter what method it was, as long as it could be done, it would be the best result. The next day, Bailey Hongzhuang woke up early. With the current situation, she had no reason to slack off. She had to pull herself together and become stronger as quickly as possible. When Di Beichen saw Bailey Hongzhuang, he saw that Bailey Hongzhuang was in high spirits. A trace of joy flashed through his eyes. "Wife," Di Beichen called out softly. Last night, he had been worried about Hongzhuang. Fortunately, the situation was as he expected. Hongzhuang was like a bright little sun, always strong and full of strength. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. Her calm demeanor was the same as before, as if nothing had happened. "Beichen, I've decided to try the Blood Chi Tower again today. If I still don't succeed, we'll leave. What do you think?" Bailey Hongzhuang's ink-black phoenix eyes flashed with determination and confidence. She had already made up her mind. No matter what, she must obtain the inheritance of the Blood Chi Tower. Right now, she had no time to waste. She had to do her best. Only by increasing her strength would she be able to rescue her parents sooner. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang's determined and resolute look, Di Beichen's deep starry eyes revealed a complicated look. He then nodded, "All right." Although the selection competition was urgent and he had delayed it for quite some time, he still hoped to accomplish what he wanted to do. Hearing Di Beichen's reply, Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled into a smile. "Then I'll go to the Blood Chi Tower first. I'll wait for you to come back." Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang's back as she left, Di Beichen knew that Bailey Hongzhuang was not feeling well either. She was just stubbornly refusing to show it on her face. Chapter 1087. Tiangang's Sect. Big Brother D has been away from the sect for so long. We're still waiting for him to discuss the selection, but he hasn't returned yet. Han Xiling furrowed her brows. Her delicate and pretty face was filled with displeasure and dissatisfaction. She had not paid much attention when Di Beichen had gone to Fengbo country. Based on Big Brother D's personality, it was impossible for him to take a fancy to anyone. The first 3 years had been peaceful. Who would have thought that Bailey Hongzhuang would suddenly appear and the two of them would get married? Ever since Bailey Hongzhuang had appeared, the situation had changed completely. Big Brother D had never been close to any woman, but he had told everyone that Bailey Hongzhuang was his wife. Initially, she had not paid much attention to Bailey Hongzhuang. She had only thought that Big Brother D had been lonely in Fengbo country for too long and was now so close to a woman. As long as Big Brother D returned to Tiangang's sect, he would completely forget about Bailey Hongzhuang. However, ever since she had seen Bailey Hongzhuang with her own eyes, she had felt an indescribable sense of threat. As the proud daughter of Tiangang's sect, she had always been an idol in the hearts of women and the target of men's pursuit. She had never felt that she could not compare to anyone. However, Bailey Hongzhuang's outstanding appearance was simply stunning. For the first time, a sense of jealousy rose in her heart. That kind of appearance was enough to make any woman jealous. The most unacceptable thing was that she had been humiliated in front of Bailey Hongzhuang. Ever since she had been born, she had never been so humiliated. She had actually been taught a lesson by the master of the ruins in front of so many people. It could be said that it was a shame that she could not erase. Huang Fuhui and the others were not ordinary people either. Following their return, this news had gradually spread to other people's ears. This clearly had a significant impact on her reputation. Fortunately, this matter had not spread very widely. Ever since she had returned, she had been thinking of ways to find Big Brother D. Later on, when Big Brother D had finally returned, she had wanted to use this opportunity to cut off all contact between Big Brother D and Bailey Hongzhuang. Who would have thought that after Big Brother D returned, he would focus on handling matters and treat her even more coldly than before? In fact, she had always understood that although many people in the outside world said that she and Big Brother D were a couple, Big Brother D did not open his heart to her. However, she was not worried. This was because other than her, other women did not even have the chance to get close to Big Brother D. She had always believed that as long as she was given some time, Brother D would fall in love with her sooner or later. However, it seemed like it was too late now. Last time, Big Brother D couldn't wait to leave Tiangang's sect after dealing with the sect's affairs. Even her persuasion to stay was useless. His absence lasted for several months. Obviously, Big Brother D had gone to look for Bailey Hongzhuang. As soon as she felt that Bailey Hongzhuang was a threat, she sent people to deal with Bailey Hongzhuang. Who would have thought that Bailey Hongzhuang would be so lucky to be able to escape under such circumstances? She was extremely disappointed. Most importantly, she did not know what kind of bewitching potion Bailey Hongzhuang had given Big Brother D to make him give his entire heart to her. In the past, Big Brother D had never said anything harsh to her. This time, he had laid his cards on the table for Bailey Hongzhuang. Although Big Brother D did not say it personally, Heimu had always only listened to Big Brother D. Chapter 1088. Young Mistress, who exactly is Bailey Hongzhuang? Tao Tsongrong's eyes flashed with disbelief. She had been by Han Shiling's side since she was young. Her relationship with Han Shiling was just like the relationship between Heimu and Di Beichen. I just don't understand. A woman from a remote dynasty can actually make young Master D do such a crazy thing. It's really unbelievable. Tao Tsongrong could not believe it. Di Beichen was the dream lover of all the female cultivators in Tiangang's sect. There were definitely many outstanding female cultivators in Tiangang's sect, but Di Beichen had never been moved for so many years. Why did the situation change after he went out this time? She had always thought that young mistress was the best match for Nose Drop Chen. Hearing this, Han Shiling's mouth evoked a mocking smile. What else can that woman do besides seducing Di Dage with some foxy means? She did not believe that it was Big Brother D who fell in love with Bailey Hongzhuang first. It must be Bailey Hongzhuang who tried every possible way to seduce Di Beichen. Tao Tsongrong opened her mouth wide and her eyes were filled with disbelief. That Bailey Hongzhuang is actually so despicable. She's really despicable. She's not a good person to begin with. She thought that after hooking up with Big Brother D, she would have a meteoric rise. She didn't even check if she had the ability to fly up the branch and become a phoenix. Han Shiling's eyes were slightly cold. Ever since Bailey Hongzhuang appeared, her relationship with Big Brother D was no longer the same as before. Last time, she had made a strange move. As long as Bailey Hongzhuang dared to come back with Big Brother D this time, she would definitely make Bailey Hongzhuang inconspicuous in Tiangang's sect. She did not believe that Bailey Hongzhuang would still have the face to continue staying here when all the elders accused Big Brother D of favoritism. Even if Bailey Hongzhuang was thick-skinned enough to stay here, she would become the target of ridicule of all the cultivators in Tiangang's sect. If Big Brother D protected her, it would only make everyone hate her even more. She was destined to pay the price for stepping into a place that did not belong to her without sufficient reason. Young mistress, we must not let Bailey Hongzhuang have her way. Tao Tsongrong's face was filled with anger. Originally, she thought that the woman that young Master D had taken a fancy to was extraordinary. She didn't expect that it was such a despicable and seductive woman. This kind of woman wasn't qualified to compete with young Miss for young Master D. That's natural. Han Shiling sneered. She can't beat me. Tao Tsongrong chuckled. She knew very well what kind of person her young Miss was. All women would feel ashamed of their inferiority when they saw young Mississippi. Although Bailey Hongzhuang had used such despicable means to temporarily win young Master D's heart, she believed that it would not be long before young Master D understood who the real Phoenix was. Tsongrong, go and tell grandfather to urge Big Brother D. After all, the selection competition is about to begin. The other sects are all waiting for Big Brother D. Han Shiling's expression was calm. She had plenty of ways to get D Baichen away from Bailey Hongzhuang. Tao Tsongrong immediately understood and smiled. Don't worry, young mistress. I'll go and tell Great Elder immediately. After Tao Tsongrong left, a smug smile appeared on Han Shiling's cold and moving face. Bailey Hongzhuang had never been her opponent. Chapter 1089. Bailey Hongzhuang arrived at the Blood Chi Tower again. The cultivators in the Blood Chi Tower were very indifferent when they saw Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang had been coming to the Blood Chi Tower every day to try to pass the trial. Currently, no one knew which level Bailey Hongzhuang had reached. They only knew that Bailey Hongzhuang was above level 3. After all, no matter how high the trial was, they could not pass it themselves. Naturally, they would not know Bailey Hongzhuang's results. Bailey Hongzhuang is really persistent. She has been trying to pass the trial here for a few months, and she is still so tenacious. Just this perseverance alone is enough to make people gasp in admiration. In my opinion, she is blind. Does she really think that the inheritance of the Blood Chi Tower is so easy to obtain? If it was so easy, there would be more than a few people in the history of the Blood Chi Tower. In recent years, only a man named D Baichen obtained the inheritance a few years ago. At that time, it was shocking. Because of D Baichen's success, more and more cultivators have been trying to obtain the inheritance in recent years. Everyone looked at Bailey Hongzhuang walking to the higher levels without saying a word. They could not help but sigh with admiration, but they could not help but feel envious. This was because Bailey Hongzhuang's current performance was indeed amazing. Bailey Hongzhuang went directly to the 9th level of the Blood Chi Tower. She decided to give it a try today. No matter what the final result was, she could not delay D Baichen's important matters. She wanted to let D Baichen leave first while she stayed in the Bloodground Abyss for a while. However, the selection competition was about to begin. Even if she stayed here, she could not stay for long. Moreover, D Baichen would definitely be worried about her if she stayed in the Bloodground Abyss. Therefore, she did not mention this idea. There was only one room on the 9th floor of the Blood Chi Tower. However, Bailey Hongzhuang felt extremely helpless about the test on the 9th floor. Because this was simply an unsolvable trap. When Bailey Hongzhuang walked in, an identical Bailey Hongzhuang appeared in front of her. The same clothes, the same appearance, the same outfit, and even the same application. The person in front of him was exactly the same Bailey Hongzhuang. Not only that, he even had the colored glass sword, and it was exactly the same in terms of power and nature. He even had the chaos ring on her hand. After these few days of testing, Bailey Hongzhuang discovered that the other party knew all the martial skills that she knew. No matter when and where, their actions were exactly the same. If he wanted to kill the other party, he would have to die. During this period of time, Bailey Hongzhuang had been racking her brains. Even if the opponent was an orange or yellow level opponent, she would not be so helpless. This was because there was at least a chance of winning. It was too difficult to defeat an identical version of herself. Bailey Hongzhuang quietly looked at the identical version of herself. For the first time, she had the urge to kill herself. The Bailey Hongzhuang opposite her did not move. They were like mirror images. They were exactly the same. Bailey Hongzhuang did not attack. This was because she had tried all kinds of attacks. Even if she was beaten black and blue, and the other party was also beaten black and blue, she could not kill herself. Chapter 1090. A proud and complacent voice rang out from Bailey Hongzhuang's mouth. Her mocking look was as if she had already determined the outcome. However, in the face of her opponent's provocation, Bailey Hongzhuang was incomparably calm. Even though the Blood Chi Tower had imitated her appearance, it could not imitate her personality. Based on her opponent's tone of voice alone, she could tell that they were different. However, just as her opponent had said, she had not found a way to defeat her opponent. Bailey Hongzhuang immediately sat down at the thought of this. She had used all kinds of attack methods before. Both parties would have to endure the same amount of power. Even her opponent's way of dodging and battle experience would be exactly the same as hers. She had even tried to severely injure herself before letting her opponent die first. However, it was to no avail. What kind of method can I use to defeat you? Bailey Hongzhuang furrowed her willowy brows. Heaven never bars one's way. She believed that since the Blood Chi Tower had set up this trial, there must be a way to solve it. However, she had not found a way to solve it yet. In the end, what part of his body was different from the Bailey Hongzhuang in front of him? Bailey Hongzhuang continued to ponder. Countless methods surfaced in her mind, but she dismissed them all. Over the past few days, she had thought of almost every method, but she could not think of a single one. Suddenly, Bailey Hongzhuang's gaze fell upon the chaos ring. Her pitch-black phoenix-like eyes suddenly lit up. Come to think of it, the most mysterious item on her body was the chaos ring. She did not know what the chaos ring was used for. However, up until now, everything in the chaos ring had shocked her. At the same time, it was also one of her greatest weapons. Then, Bailey Hongzhuang's gaze fell upon the identical Bailey Hongzhuang. The other party was also wearing a chaos ring. However, she did not believe that the Blood Chi Tower would be so heaven-defying that it would allow her opponent to have an identical chaos ring. Although she didn't know much about the chaos ring, she knew that it wasn't a simple ring. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to call it a divine artifact. Such an item couldn't be easily imitated. Thinking of this, Bailey Hongzhuang also had the idea of giving it a try. Her mind moved, and her soul entered the chaos ring. Since coming to the Bloodground Abyss, the number of times she entered the Ring of Chaos had undoubtedly decreased greatly. This was because the practice in the Bloodground Abyss had been of great help to her cultivation. During this time, she had been focusing on improving her cultivation. Naturally, she had also practiced her inscription technique, but the frequency had decreased by a bit. The trial of the Blood Chi Tower had filled her with fighting spirit. Bailey Hongzhuang walked into the Black and White Palace. To her, the Chaos Ring was the only way to defeat the fake Bailey Hongzhuang. Since the other party's situation was exactly the same as hers, then when her spiritual consciousness entered the Chaos Ring, that Bailey Hongzhuang's spiritual consciousness would also disappear. In this way, when she went out again, the other party would be a dead person. However, if she was wrong and the other party's chaos ring had the exact same effect, then she could only think of other ways. Chapter 1091. However, while Bailey Hongzhuang was practicing the inscription technique, the entire Blood Chi Tower was in an uproar. A bright and resplendent golden light illuminated the entire Blood Chi Tower. Under this light, the blood-red Blood Chi Tower gave off a sense of holiness and grandeur. When this light appeared, all the cultivators in the Bloodground Abyss focused their attention on the Blood Chi Tower. To many cultivators, this ray of light was extremely unfamiliar, but many of them could search for the origin of this ray of light in their minds. This light seems to be the light that appears after someone obtains the inheritance of the Blood Chi Tower. Yes, I've seen it once a few years ago. It appeared after Bewitching passed all the trials of the Blood Chi Tower. I didn't expect it to appear again. Who actually passed the trial? For a moment, all the cultivators in the Bloodground Abyss gathered outside the Blood Chi Tower. Looking at the bright light, they were extremely shocked. It can't be Bailey Hongzhuang, right? It was unknown which cultivator mentioned it, but the eyes of all the cultivators present changed. During this period of time, they all knew that Bailey Hongzhuang had been challenging the trials. However, none of them dared to imagine that Bailey Hongzhuang could reach this step. This was too heaven-defying. It can't be. Although Bailey Hongzhuang's strength is good, how difficult is the trial of the Blood Chi Tower? I don't think she can do it. Who else could it be other than her? Everyone fell into silence. There were many cultivators who challenged the Blood Chi Tower trial. Not to mention passing the 9th floor, it was extremely difficult to pass the 6th floor. Other than Bailey Hongzhuang, they felt that it was even more impossible for other cultivators to succeed. After seeing the changes in the Blood Chi Tower, He Mu's handsome face was filled with joy. Young master, madam succeeded. He Mu's voice was filled with unconcealable excitement. Although he knew that the young master had always been confident in the madam, he also knew how difficult it was to break through the trial of the Blood Chi Tower. Back then, when the young master had passed this trial, it had caused everyone to exclaim in surprise. It had been many years since anyone had succeeded. However, the young madam had also succeeded. Just this point alone was enough to prove young madam's talent and ability. If this news were to spread, Miss Han would no longer be able to say that young madam was not talented enough. He had been by the young master's side for so many years and had a certain understanding of Miss Han's arrogant personality. He was certain that Miss Han must have thought of the young madam this way. As long as the young mistress obtained the inheritance of the Blood Chi Tower, this alone would be enough to shut the mouths of many people. As the young master's secret guard, he sincerely hoped that the young master could be happy. Naturally, he also hoped that the marriage between the young master and the young master's wife would not be opposed and discussed by them. Bewitching stood in front of the window as his gaze fell upon the resplendent Blood Chi Tower. His peerlessly handsome face revealed a joyful smile. His thin and elegant lips curled into a joyful and admiring curve. He never thought that Hongzhuang would be able to pass the trial so quickly. A few days ago, Hongzhuang had been having a headache over the last stage. He never thought that she would be able to complete it on the last day. It was truly a pleasant surprise. Chapter 1092. When Bailey Hongzhuang emerged from the Chaos Ring, she realized that Bailey Hongzhuang had disappeared. When she saw this, Bailey Hongzhuang's phoenix-like eyes were filled with astonishment. She then smiled in understanding. It seems that her guess was right. The Blood Chi Tower was unable to simulate the effects of the Chaos Ring. Bailey Hongzhuang looked around. Since she had passed the final test, she wondered where the inheritance of the Blood Chi Tower was located. Just as Bailey Hongzhuang was thinking about how to obtain the inheritance, a blood-red ball of light suddenly appeared in the middle of the hall. The blood-red ball of light was mixed with specks of golden light. It was dazzling and bright, faintly emitting a heart-palpitating aura. Bailey Hongzhuang's ink-black phoenix-like eyes flickered with a bright light. She slowly approached the ball of light. Obviously, this ball of light should be the inheritance of the Blood Chi Tower. Bailey Hongzhuang reached out her hand towards the ball of light. The moment her slender fingers touched the ball of light, Bailey Hongzhuang felt a piercing pain. Immediately after that, a tyrannical energy flowed continuously from her fingertips into her body. Under this tyrannical energy, Bailey Hongzhuang hurriedly activated the demon's summoning scripture. If she did not activate the technique, she might explode and die under the infusion of this energy. After Bailey Hongzhuang had completely absorbed the blood-red ball of light, Bailey Hongzhuang sat down and clasped her hands together as she continuously activated the technique. As Bailey Hongzhuang continued to activate the technique, her aura gradually increased. The cultivators in the Blood Chi Tower kept looking at the stairs. They just wanted to know who the cultivator who had obtained the inheritance was. The inheritance of the Blood Chi Tower could be said to be a once-in-a-century occurrence. However, in just a few years, 2 cultivators had obtained the inheritance. It was truly shocking. What they were most curious about was how this cultivator managed to break through the trial. Everyone knew that the trials of the Blood Chi Tower were abnormal. The difficulty increased every 3 floors, and in the end, they didn't even have any hope of breaking through. If it was because they were not strong enough, it would be fine. However, the cultivators who passed the trial of the Blood Chi Tower were also in the Red Realm. Despite being at the same level of cultivation, the other party was able to pass while they were unable to do so. This was what was truly difficult to accept. No matter who the cultivator who obtained the inheritance was, he or she would become famous in the Bloodground Abyss. Inside the inn. Young Master, young Madam has successfully broken through the 9th level of the trial. Should we go and receive young Madam? Blackwood raised his head and looked at Bewitching. Originally, the young master had insisted on staying in the Bloodground Abyss for the sake of the young master's wife's inheritance. Now that the young madam had successfully obtained the inheritance, the young master could finally let go of the things that he had been worried about. Bewitching shook his head slightly. Hong Zhuang has indeed passed the trial, but she still needs some time to obtain the inheritance. Let's wait. He had obtained the inheritance of the Blood Chi Tower before, so he knew that the inheritance also needed some time. He knew about the selection competition. Although the day of the selection competition was approaching, it wasn't as urgent as the Tiangang sect. Come to think of it, Han Xiling had something to do with it. He knew Hong Zhuang's temperament very well. She had always been someone who would not attack unless she was attacked. Chapter 1093. Hearing this, He Mu nodded slightly. He had not passed the trial of the Blood Chi Tower and did not know about this. The last time the young master had obtained the inheritance, he was on the 6th level of the trial. At that time, the old sect master had led them. Now that he had surpassed the Red Realm, it was obviously impossible for him to obtain the inheritance of the Blood Chi Tower. When Bailey Hongzhuang opened her eyes and exited her cultivation state, anyone who was in front of her would notice that her ink-black phoenix eyes had unknowingly turned blood-red. However, the blood-red color only appeared for a short moment and soon returned to its original black color. Bailey Hongzhuang's delicate and beautiful face was filled with a trace of emotion. Even after obtaining the Blood Chi field, she could not help but feel amazed. The Blood Chi field was a very mysterious energy. It was like a coercion, but it contained a hint of blood and had a power that could erode one's mind. This situation was not much different from what she had imagined before. However, it could suppress the opponent's cultivation in battle and increase one's own strength. The Blood Chi Tower and the Blood Chi field are indeed magical. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled into a faint and moving smile. She felt a trace of relief in her heart. Fortunately, she had succeeded. If she had left this time, she did not know when she would be able to return here. She was already at the 8th level of the Red Realm. Once she participated in the selection contest, it was very likely that she would reach the Orange Realm. At that time, she would not have the opportunity to participate in the assessment. Thinking of this, Bailey Hongzhuang's smile gradually deepened. Many things were destined. After obtaining the inheritance, Bailey Hongzhuang did not stay any longer and immediately left the Blood Chi Tower. When Bailey Hongzhuang walked to the 3rd level of the Blood Chi Tower, almost all the cultivators' eyes fell on her. Look! Bailey Hongzhuang is out. In my opinion, the person who obtained the Blood Chi field must be her. Don't you feel that Bailey Hongzhuang's aura seems to have improved a lot? Don't worry. Once the inheritance is over, your name will appear on the Blood Aura Field's transfer pillar. Hearing everyone's discussion, Bailey Hongzhuang only glanced at them indifferently. Soon, all the cultivators in the Bloodground Abyss would know that she was the one who had obtained the Blood Aura inheritance. However, it didn't matter to her whether others knew or not. She and Bewitching were about to leave the Bloodground Abyss. Not only on the 3rd floor of the Blood Chi Tower, but the performance of the cultivators on the 2nd and 1st floors was also the same, or even more exaggerated. This was because they were cultivators who had not even passed the first 3 levels of the single elimination tournament. Bailey Hongzhuang had only been in the Blood Chi Tower for a few months, but she had already obtained the inheritance. In comparison, they had worked so hard for the inheritance of the Blood Chi Tower for so long, but it was all for naught. One could imagine the irony in their hearts. Bailey Hongzhuang walked out of the tower under everyone's gazes. It was as if she had suddenly become the most famous character in the Bloodground Abyss. Soon, everyone noticed that a golden name was slowly appearing on the Blood Chi Tower's transfer pillar. The name is about to appear. Everyone was excited and held their breaths. They only wanted to know the final result. Chapter 1094. Even though everyone had already guessed that the practitioner who got the inheritance of the Blood Chi Tower was likely to be Bailey Hongzhuang, at this moment, when they knew that it was really Bailey Hongzhuang, their hearts couldn't help but tremble. My God, it's really Bailey Hongzhuang. What is the background of this Bailey Hongzhuang? How could she get the inheritance so easily? No matter what her background is, just the fact that she can get the inheritance has already proved that her strength is not simple. Some practitioners who were originally dissatisfied with Bailey Hongzhuang also dispelled their original evil thoughts after knowing Bailey Hongzhuang's achievements. Needless to say, Bailey Hongzhuang must be a very extraordinary person in the future. In the history of the Blood Chi Tower, all the practitioners who got the inheritance were extraordinary people. There was no doubt about this. After knowing that Bailey Hongzhuang actually got the inheritance of the Blood Chi Tower, Bloody Rose was deeply shocked in her heart. Originally, she only thought that Bailey Hongzhuang's strength was good, but she was still not worthy of Bewitching. However, now, after knowing Bailey Hongzhuang's achievements, everything she originally clamored for became a joke. This woman's cultivation talent was so strong. At this moment, Bloody Rose was not only jealous that Bailey Hongzhuang could get Bewitching's heart, but she was even more jealous that Bailey Hongzhuang could get such a result. This was just as Bailey Hongzhuang said before, she would rely on her own strength and did not need to rely on anyone. When Bailey Hongzhuang walked out of the Blood Chi Tower, she saw Bewitching and Heimu standing at the door looking at her with a smile. The 3 beasts were also sitting on the shoulders of Bewitching and Heimu. During this time, the 3 beasts and Bewitching were also very familiar with each other. No matter who they sat on, they were very used to it. Wife, congratulations. Bewitching's handsome face curved into a happy and enchanting smile as he reached out his right hand to grab Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. Her smile was beautiful and bright. I told you that I can pass. Young mistress, you're really amazing. Heimu admires you. Heimu was not stingy with his praise. He was already full of admiration for the young mistress. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang's beautiful cherry lips curled up slightly. Her eyes were bright and moving. Heimu is getting better at talking. Heimu smiled and scratched his head, feeling a little embarrassed. While Bailey Hongzhuang and the other 2 were talking, many cultivators were looking at them. After all, the fact that Bailey Hongzhuang had obtained the inheritance of the Blood Chi Tower was an explosive piece of news. Many cultivators wanted to know how Bailey Hongzhuang had broken through the trial. They had been trapped in the trial for many years. Bewitching's deep gaze swept across the cultivators who were looking at them. He said, Wife, let's go back first. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. There were too many people here. It was indeed not a good place to talk. The 3 of them left quickly, and many cultivators' gazes were fixed on them. Feeling the gazes around her, Bailey Hongzhuang frowned slightly. The situation was clearly different from what she had imagined. Logically speaking, this inheritance could only be obtained by cultivators who passed. Even if other cultivators killed her, they would not be able to obtain this inheritance. They should not be following her closely. Chapter 1095. Wife, are you tired from the last round today? As they walked, Bewitching's voice quietly entered Bailey Hongzhuang's ears. Bailey Hongzhuang shook her head slightly. No, I'm in great shape right now. She had relied entirely on the Chaos Ring to pass the last round today. As for herself, she had not used any energy at all. Moreover, she was in great shape after receiving the legacy of the Blood Chi Tower. She could even be said to be full of energy. Then, how about we leave the Bloodground Abyss right now? Beichen's dark eyes flickered with a deep light. His handsome face was calm and composed. All right. Bailey Hongzhuang agreed without any hesitation. They had originally planned to leave after receiving the legacy of the Blood Chi Tower. Since they had already received it, there was no need for them to continue staying here. Moreover, judging from the cultivator's situation, if they continued to stay here, something might happen. It was better to leave as soon as possible. After receiving Bailey Hongzhuang's confirmation, Beichen and He Mu looked at each other. The situation was just as they had expected. Whenever a cultivator who received the legacy appeared, the Bloodground Abyss would not be peaceful. Back then, Beichen had not stayed in the Bloodground Abyss for long after receiving the legacy. He had directly left. The three of them walked out of the Bloodground Abyss. Many cultivators were stunned when they saw Bailey Hongzhuang and the others preparing to leave. Bailey Hongzhuang is preparing to leave the Bloodground Abyss? She's already successfully obtained the Blood Chi field. Why is she still staying here? If Bailey Hongzhuang leaves, won't we not know the trick to breaking through the trial? Many cultivators began to hesitate. Although they knew that everyone's trial was different, it was always good to know more. Perhaps they would encounter the same trial. However, when the crowd saw Beichen beside Bailey Hongzhuang, many of the cultivators who originally had evil intentions chose to give up. After all, Beichen's display in the Blood Chi Tower had intimidated many people. Bailey Hongzhuang and the other two unhurriedly walked out of the Bloodground Abyss. He Mu had already prepared the horses according to Beichen's instructions. When they were about to reach the entrance of the Bloodland Abyss, Bailey Hongzhuang saw the horses that had been prepared not far away. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Beichen in astonishment. It seemed that Beichen had already expected such a situation. With a flip, the three of them immediately left on their horses. After the three of them successfully left the Bloodground Abyss, a joyful smile spread across Bailey Hongzhuang's calm face. Fortunately, no cultivators had attacked them until they left. "We've finally left successfully." While she was walking, her heart was in her mouth. Once a cultivator attacked, it was very likely that it would be a group battle. Looking at the beautiful smile on Bailey Hongzhuang's face, Beichen's face softened a bit. This time, there were no cultivators who made a move. Our luck is not bad. He Mu looked at the young master and young mistress, who were made in heaven. He steered his horse slower and quietly followed behind the young master and young mistress. Chapter 1096. Yuanwu City. When Bailey Hongzhuang and Beichen returned to Yuanwu City, Yuan Hongyang and Yuan Liqing warmly received Bailey Hongzhuang and Lu Qiue. "Young Master Miss Bailey, how did you feel in the Bloodground Abyss?" Yuan Hongyang had a faint smile on his face, but there was a trace of admiration in his eyes as he looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and Lu Qiue. Long ago, he knew that Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang were not simple. However, he did not expect Beichen and Lu Qiue to stay in the Bloodground Abyss for such a long time. It was truly surprising. "Not bad," Beichen said with a faint smile. Just as Big Brother Yuan said before, the Bloodground Abyss was very bloody and surprising. Bailey Hongzhuang's smile was faint and elegant. There was no need to talk about what happened in the Bloodground Abyss after leaving the Bloodground Abyss. It must have been very tiring for you in the Bloodground Abyss. Since you have returned to Yuanwu City, why don't you come to our Yuan clan to rest for a few days? Yuan Hongyang asked. Yuan Hongyang was very grateful to Bailey Hongzhuang and Lu Qiue. If not for the appearance of Bailey Hongzhuang and Lu Qiue, the Yuan clan would not have been able to suppress the Xie clan so easily. Now, after the Yuan clan's hard work, the Xie clan's arrogance had been completely suppressed by them. Not only that, the Xie clan's loss of a successor like Xie Qi was undoubtedly a huge blow. It had a significant impact on the Xia clan's reputation. While the Xia clan was in chaos, they took over some of the Xia clan's businesses. Regarding this, the Lu clan had always maintained a neutral attitude. As a result, their Yuan clan had become the #1 clan in Yuanwu City. All these years, they had always wanted to achieve this goal. However, the three clans had been at odds for too long and did not agree to break this situation. However, he did not expect that the two friends he had made along the way would help him complete all of this. It was like a pie falling from the sky. Therefore, Yuan Hongyang was very grateful to Di Beichen and Lu Qiuat. Thank you Big Brother Yuan for your kindness, but we have urgent matters to attend to, so we can't stay here for long. Bailey Hongzhuang declined politely. For Yuan Hongyang and the others, they were originally just acquaintances, they had met by chance, and it was fate to be able to come to this point. Hearing this, Yuan Hongyang suddenly understood. So that's how it is. Then I will immediately arrange for the wyverns to depart for the Sky Swallow Kingdom. Many thanks, Big Brother Yuan. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. Bailey Hongzhuang and Hongzhuang didn't want Di to be labeled as someone addicted to love because of her. Because she missed and Qiuez were very much. Yuan Hongyang waved his hand. If you want to thank someone, it should be the cultivators of my Yuan clan. Leave such a small matter to us. We will get it done quickly. Now, as the Yuan clan's weight in Yuanwu City became more and more important, the wyvern was completely under their control. Therefore, it was easy for him to help Di Beichen and Lu Qiue arrange for the wyvern to leave. Yuan Hongyang immediately went to arrange it, while Yuan Liqing stood beside Bailey Hongzhuang. Her pretty face revealed a bit of reluctance. It was not easy to see you come back from the bloody ground abyss. I didn't expect you to return to Tianyan Kingdom so soon. Yuan Liqing sighed. After you leave this time, I'm afraid we won't be able to see each other again. Chapter 1097. I hope so. The corners of Yuan Liqing's mouth curled into a smile. However, the smile on her slightly desolate face did not reach the bottom of her heart. In the future, I will probably go to the Bloodground Abyss again. At that time, I will definitely come to the Origin Martial City to see you. Her exquisite and beautiful face bloomed with a bright and beautiful smile. During this period of time in the Bloodground Abyss, she had improved a lot. Naturally, she would not miss such a place that was beneficial to improving her cultivation. Being able to obtain the inheritance of the Blood Chi Tower this time was already the best harvest for her. However, she was still very interested in the training ground behind the Bloodground Abyss. As long as she had the chance in the future, she would definitely come here again. Seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang was serious and did not seem to be comforting her, the smile on Yuan Liqing's face widened. That's great. When the time comes, you must come and find me. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. Definitely. Yuan Liqing, whose mood had improved, carefully sized up Bailey Hongzhuang. With this look, her eyes could not help but be filled with surprise. Hongzhuang, I feel that your aura has improved a lot. Yuan Liqing frowned slightly. Bailey Hongzhuang had only left the Origin Martial City for a few months, but when she saw Bailey Hongzhuang, the feeling was completely different. Although Bailey Hongzhuang was controlling her aura and she could not feel it clearly, she felt that Bailey Hongzhuang was much stronger than before. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. I have indeed improved in the Bloodground Abyss this time. What's your cultivation now? Yuan Liqing asked curiously. In the past, she was also filled with curiosity about the Bloodground Abyss. However, she could not accept such a bloody and dangerous place. There were enemies everywhere. The slightest carelessness could lead to a fatal disaster. In such a place, she could not even sleep in peace. Originally, she thought that Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen were just going to take a look and would be back soon. Who would have thought that Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen would actually stay in the Bloodground Abyss for such a long time? She was truly envious. Orange Level 1. Bailey Hongzhuang did not hide it. When she passed the first 8 floors of the Blood Chi Tower, her strength had already reached the 8th level of the Red Realm. After successfully breaking through the 9th level of the trial and obtaining the inheritance of the Blood Chi Tower, her cultivation level increased to Orange level rank 1. Following Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Yuan Liqing couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. She looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in horror, clearly unable to believe what she had heard. Orange level rank 1. Yuan Liqing's eyes widened. You're leveling up too fast. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. The Bloodground Abyss is indeed a place that promotes one's cultivation level. Bailey Hongzhuang could not help but exclaim. She was also surprised by the speed of her cultivation level improvement. Looking at Bailey Hongzhuang's exclamation, Yuan Liqing had a guess in her mind. She knew what kind of place the Bloodground Abyss was. Presumably, Bailey Hongzhuang's cultivation level had been forced to improve in that environment. Looks like you guys have suffered a lot in the Bloodground Abyss. Yuan Liqing could not help but exclaim. What kind of pressure could allow one's cultivation level to improve so quickly? Chapter 1098. Not long after, Yuan Hongyang returned. Young Master D, Miss Bailey. Yuan Hongyang had a faint smile on his face. The flying beasts have already been arranged. You can set off whenever you want. Thank you, young Master Yuan. Di Beichen bowed. It's our duty. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen looked at each other. They did not plan to waste any more time in Yuanwu City. Since the flying beasts had already been arranged, they could set off now. Yuan Hongyang also knew that Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen had urgent matters to attend to. He immediately headed towards the direction of the flying beasts with Bailey Hongzhuang and the other two. Soon, Bailey Hongzhuang, Di Beichen, and He Mu sat on the flying beasts together. Young Master D, Miss Bailey, take care. Yuan Hongyang stood below the flying beast and said. You guys take care too. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. Hongzhuang, the next time you come to Yuanwu City, you must come to the Yuan clan to find me. Yuan Liqing waved her hand and said. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly, definitely. The flying beasts quickly flew into the air and carried Bailey Hongzhuang and the other two as well as the 3 beasts towards Sky Swallow Kingdom. Only when the flying beasts gradually disappeared from their sight did Yuan Hongyang and Yuan Liqing retract their gazes. I didn't expect them to be able to stay in the Bloodground Abyss for so long. It's really unexpected. I wonder when He Mu went to find them. Yuan Hongyang's eyes were filled with emotion. Thinking back, his performance when he went to the Bloodground Abyss was terrible. He originally thought that Di Beichen and He Mu's performance would not be much better than his. He did not expect the two of them to be gone for so long. Hongyang, you don't know how terrifying Hongzhuang's improvement in the Bloodground Abyss was. Yuan Liqing pretended to be mysterious as she looked at Yuan Hongyang. Bailey Hongzhuang had scared her, so she wanted to scare Yuan Hongyang as well. Looking at Yuan Liqing's appearance, Yuan Hongyang was also very curious. The Bloodground Abyss can indeed help cultivators increase their cultivation. How much has Bailey Hongzhuang improved? She stayed in the Bloodground Abyss for a few months, so she should be able to reach the 5th level of the Red Realm, right? TSK, TSK. Yuan Liqing waved her hand. You're underestimating Hongzhuang. Yuan Hongyang's eyes narrowed. Could it be that he has advanced by 2 stages? Yuan Liqing shook her head and continued to look at Yuan Hongyang. 3rd stage? Yuan Hongyang was surprised. Isn't this promotion too fast? Raising 1 level in a month is impossible under normal circumstances. That's not right. Yuan Liqing said. Guess again. Yuan Hongyang frowned and looked at Yuan Liqing in disbelief. Don't tell me that Bailey Hongzhuang has advanced by 5 steps. It's the 7th stage. Yuan Liqing emphasized. Previously, Bailey Hongzhuang's cultivation was at the 3rd level of the Red Realm. Now that she was at the 1st level of the Orange Realm, wasn't that an advancement of 7 stages? Yuan Hongyang was stunned as soon as he heard this. He looked at Yuan Liqing in disbelief as if he had heard something extremely unbelievable. 7th stage? Then Bailey Hongzhuang is at the first level of the Orange Realm? Yuan Liqing nodded affirmatively. That's right. Hongzhuang's cultivation is now at the first level of the Orange Realm. How is that possible? Yuan Hongyang furrowed his brows in disbelief. How did she improve so quickly? Chapter 1099. Looking at Yuan Hongyang's incredulous expression, the smile on Yuan Liqing's face widened. At least, she was not the only one who was shocked. The two of them walked towards the Yuan residence. Originally, they were very happy to see Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen and wanted to invite them to stay at the Yuan residence for a while. They did not expect Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen to leave so quickly after meeting them. It was really a pity. Suddenly, a figure appeared in front of Yuan Hongyang and Yuan Liqing. After seeing who it was, Yuan Hongyang and Yuan Liqing were surprised. "Big brother, why are you here?" Yuan Hongyang asked in surprise. The person who came was none other than the Yuan family head, Yuan Qingxua. When Yuan Qingxua saw that only Yuan Hongyang and Yuan Liqing were there, he could not help but ask, "Why are there only the two of you? Where are Miss Bailey and young Master Di? They have urgent matters to attend to, so I arranged for the wyvern to send them away," Yuan Hongyang replied. "Big brother, why are you looking for them? They've left?" Yuan Qingxua was startled. Obviously, this answer was not what he expected. Yuan Liqing nodded slightly. However, from Yuan Qingxua's attitude, she could feel that the situation was not so simple. "Big brother, why are you looking for them in such a hurry? Did something happen?" Yuan Hongyang and Yuan Liqing looked at Yuan Qingxua curiously. Their big brother had always been steady and it was rare to see him like this. "I just received news that Bailey Hongzhuang has obtained the inheritance of the Blood Qi Tower," Yuan Qingxua sighed. Yuan Qingxua sighed faintly. After hearing this news, he was completely stunned. How difficult was it to obtain the inheritance of the Blood Qi Tower? He did not expect Bailey Hongzhuang to obtain the inheritance in less than 3 months at the Bloodgrave Abyss. Her strength and talent were really amazing. When he thought of how they knew Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen, Yuan Qingxua could not help but feel excited. His younger brother had only met them by chance on the way here. If these friends were so capable, he could not miss this opportunity. He must build a good relationship with them. It was precisely because of this that he had immediately rushed out from his family to welcome Bailey Hongzhuang and Gu Ruoyan. He did not expect that they had already left. Hearing Yuan Qingxua's words, Yuan Hongyang and Yuan Liqing looked at each other in disbelief. "Big brother, what did you say?" Yuan Hongyang asked again in disbelief. "Bailey Hongzhuang has obtained the legacy of the Blood Qi Tower." Yuan Qingxua wasn't surprised by Yuan Hongyang's reaction. "You've met two incredible people this time. I was wondering how Bailey Hongzhuang managed to level up to Orange level rank 1 in such a short time. She must have passed the inheritance of the Blood Qi Tower," Yuan Liqing exclaimed. At this moment, Yuan Hongyang and Yuan Liqing understood. As it turned out, they didn't need to worry about whether or not Bailey Hongzhuang could adapt to the environment of the Bloodground Abyss. Not only did they adapt, they even made a name for themselves in the Bloodground Abyss. Not only that, Di Beichen is the cultivator who obtained the inheritance of the Blood Qi Tower a few years ago. Come to think of it, that's why Di Beichen brought Bailey Hongzhuang to the Bloodground Abyss. Yuan Qingxua's words were like a heavy bomb that smashed into Yuan Hongyang and Yuan Liqing's hearts. When they thought of how they had advised Bailey Hongzhuang and Gu Ruoyan about the dangers of the Bloodground Abyss, they felt that they were ridiculous. Chapter 1100. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen naturally didn't know how much shock their affairs had brought to Yuan Hongyang and others. They just rode the flying beast to resist the cold. "Wifey, do you want to go back to Tiangang's sect with me this time?" Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyes and looked at Di Beichen with a little doubt. I have to participate in the selection competition first before entering Tiangang's sect. They had already discussed it before. Before proving that she had enough qualifications to enter Tiangang's sect, she would not go. Whether it was for Di Beichen's reputation or for her own pride, she couldn't go through the back door. Looking at Bailey Hongzhuang's puzzled look, Di Beichen's lips evoked an evil and charming smile. I mean, you go to Tiangang's sect with me. The selection competition will start soon. I will let He Mu pass the news to Xia Jiqing and let them prepare to participate in the selection competition. You will go with me and enter the selection competition directly, saving the trouble of running back and forth. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyebrows wrinkled slightly. According to Di Beichen's words, it was not impossible. However, at this moment, she went back with Di Beichen. She was afraid that it would inevitably cause an uproar in Tiangang's sect. At least, Han Xiling would not stop. Wifey, this selection competition will not end in a short time. Don't you want to go to Tiangang's sect to announce your ownership? Di Beichen winked at Bailey Hongzhuang. For him, it was good to be able to stay with his wifey for a while. He understood that many disciples in the sect were full of curiosity about Hongzhuang, and there were many unpleasant remarks. However, the reason he brought Hongzhuang back this time was to tell everyone that no matter what other people thought, Hongzhuang was the woman he loved the most. With this opportunity, he could also let some people completely give up. Looking at Di Beichen's seductive appearance, Bailey Hongzhuang's smile gradually widened. Once such a devilishly handsome man tried to seduce you, that kind of charm was something that no ordinary woman could resist. All right. Bailey Hongzhuang did not mind going to Tiangang's sect to meet Han Xiling again. In the future, she would set foot in Tiangang's sect sooner or later, so it might not be a bad thing to go earlier. As for what Han Xiling might do, she would deal with whatever came her way. She would deal with it as it came. Seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang agreed to his proposal, Di Beichen was in a good mood. The last time I returned to Tiangang's sect, I already told everyone your identity. Everyone is very curious about you. However, there are good and bad things in this curiosity. After you go, don't worry about anything else. Just trust me. I will deal with all these problems. Di Beichen held Bailey Hongzhuang's hand tightly. He did not want Bailey Hongzhuang to suffer any grievances. However, he was forced to leave Tiangang's sect for 3 years. When he returned, he suddenly told everyone that he was married. Naturally, some people were dissatisfied. Among them, the most dissatisfied was the Great Elder. However, he would deal with these problems one by one. The first and most important thing was to let everyone believe in the existence of Hongzhuang. Only after proving this point, he could deal with other things. Chapter 1101. For Bailey Hongzhuang, other than the people she cared about, she didn't care about the words of others. After all, she had long been used to these discussions over the years. With Han Xiling's position in Tiangang's sect, the disciples of Tiangang's sect would certainly believe her words. When she went to Tiangang's sect, it was inevitable that she would hear some bad words. However, these wouldn't have any effect on her. Sooner or later, she would have to face this matter. It wasn't a bad idea to go to Tiangang's sect earlier to broaden her horizons. Soon, she would let Han Xiling know the taste of being slapped in the face. Looking at the confident radiance on Bailey Hongzhuang's delicate smiling face, Di Beichen tightened his grip on Bailey Hongzhuang's hand. Wife, I love you. Under such circumstances, he only wanted to say these 3 words to Bailey Hongzhuang. From the beginning, he was the one who liked Hongzhuang and pursued Hongzhuang. Now, Hongzhuang had to bear some unnecessary pressure because of him. In his heart, he felt very guilty towards Hongzhuang. However, he would solve these problems as soon as possible. As soon as these words came out, Bailey Hongzhuang's beautiful face suddenly flushed with a touch of crimson. Her clear and bright eyes were also moist and moving. He Mu quietly sat in a position far away from Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen. He was minding his own business and cultivating. See no evil, hear no evil. He still understood this situation. At this moment, the three beasts were also sitting in Heimu's arms. Originally, the three of them had been following their master around like third wheels. Now that Heimu had appeared, they were completely handed over to him by Bewitching. Now, they couldn't even watch the show. As Bailey Hongzhuang and the others got closer to Tianyan Kingdom, they also found that the original cold had gradually dissipated. The cotton-padded clothes on their bodies were also put into their universe bags. Other than the snow origin country, which was a country of ice and snow, the other places would not make them feel so cold. Finally, under such a hurried journey, Bailey Hongzhuang and the other two successfully arrived at the kingdom of Sky Swallow. Bailey Hongzhuang was somewhat emotional when she came to Sky Swallow Kingdom again. Accustomed to the bloody scenes of the bloody ground abyss, he only felt that the kingdom of Sky Swallow was unusually peaceful. Heimu, go to Zhonglan College first and tell this news to the cultivators in the special enrollment class. Then come back to Tiangang's sect to find me. Bewitching explained things to Heimu as they walked. The relationship between Bailey Hongzhuang and Xia Jiqing was very good. Bewitching was also very clear. It was precisely because of this that he specifically asked Heimu to inform Xia Jiqing and the others. Not all cultivators could participate in the selection competition. They had to pass some tests before they could participate. Young master, you mean to let Lady Xia and the rest go to Tiangang's sect and participate in the selection after passing the Tiangang sect's test? Heimu asked. Usually, this selection competition was selected by the dynasty. Only the top cultivators in the dynasty had the possibility to participate in the selection competition. Now, many dynasties had begun to prepare for this selection. Sects also had places for assessment. It was just that the cultivators who passed the sect assessment and participated in the selection competition were equivalent to seeded players. Needless to say, the strength of the young master's wife naturally didn't need to be mentioned. However, the other students in the special enrollment class might not necessarily be able to pass the assessment. Bewitching nodded, yes, let them come together. Chapter 1102. Seeing that Bewitching had already made his decision, Heimu no longer questioned it. He knew that the young master had always been very good to the young lady. Through this method, the young lady would be able to participate in the selection with familiar friends. Otherwise, those who participated in the selection would all be unfamiliar cultivators. Undoubtedly, cooperation would not be a small problem. Young master, I will immediately go to Azure Water School to inform Miss Xia and the others. You and the young lady should return to Tiangang's sect first. Heimu said. Now, Tiangang's sect had been urging the young master to return. If they did not return as soon as possible, the storm that the young lady would face would be even stronger. Bewitching nodded slightly, be careful on the way. Heimu no longer hesitated and immediately rode his horse in the direction of Azure Water School. After Heimu left, Bewitching and Bailey Hongzhuang did not stay for long and immediately rushed to Tiangang's sect Azure Water School. Ren Tianxiong and Huan Chuyu had already informed all the students about the selection competition. This once every 5 years selection competition was an extremely good opportunity for cultivators to become a carp leaping over the dragon gate. Once they had a good performance in the selection, they would be able to step into the clouds and truly enter the top forces of Xingxian continent. If they missed this opportunity, they would have to wait for another 5 years. The cultivators of Azure Water School went crazy after hearing this news. This was a good opportunity that no one could give up. It was just that the selection test was not easy to pass. If one's strength was not strong enough, they would not even have the chance to participate in the selection. Jiqing, the selection is about to begin. We have to go back to our respective dynasties to fight for a place to participate. Zhang Yunfeng sat beside Xia Jiqing. This was an opportunity that they absolutely could not miss. As a cultivator, they naturally wanted to enter a sect. That was a place that belonged to cultivators. Once they became a member of a sect, their status would be completely different. Moreover, the various resources in the sect would be far more abundant than what they currently had access to. Xia Jiqing nodded slightly, her pretty face revealing a bit of loneliness. The selection is about to begin, but Hong Zhuang has not returned yet. Could it be that she does not know about this selection? This was a good opportunity that cultivators simply could not miss. It would be a pity if Hong Zhuang missed this opportunity because she didn't know about it. Listening to Xia Jiqing's words, Zhang Yunfeng couldn't help but chuckle. How is that possible? Di Beichen is the young lord of Tiangang's sect. He must know about this. Since Di Beichen knows about it, how could Hong Zhuang not know about it? Xia Jiqing reacted, "You're right, Hong Zhuang should also be participating in this selection, right?" Zhang Yunfeng pondered and shook her head. Not necessarily. With Di Beichen's identity, it is not a problem to recruit Hong Zhuang into Tiangang's sect. Maybe Hong Zhuang will not participate in the selection competition and directly go to Tiangang's sect as a disciple. The purpose of the selection competition was to give cultivators the opportunity to enter a sect. Bailey Hongzhuang already had the opportunity to enter a sect. It didn't matter whether she participated in the selection competition or not. Xia Jiqing was stunned, but soon a firm light appeared in her eyes. Hong Zhuang will definitely participate. With her understanding of Hong Zhuang would definitely not enter Tiangang's sect like this. Chapter 1103. Seeing that Xia Jiqing was so sure, Zhang Yunfeng was also a little surprised. According to her idea, Hong Zhuang was already Di Beichen's wife, so entering Tiangang's sect was a matter of course. According to the principal and vice principal's introduction, this selection competition had a certain risk, and if one was not careful, they could lose their life. With Hong Zhuang's identity, there was no need to take risks. It was better to go to Tiangang's sect to cultivate, which would be better. I know Hong Zhuang's temperament. Xia Jiqing smiled faintly. She knew Hong Zhuang's inner thoughts. She had never been a person who liked to take advantage of others. What's more, Hong Zhuang had always felt that taking a shortcut was not a good thing. Only taking it step by step seriously was the best result. Zhang Yunfeng shrugged her shoulders. She didn't know why Xia Jiqing was so sure of her answer, but she didn't object. If Hong Zhuang also participated in the selection competition, maybe they could meet in the arena and form a team together. Jiqing, when are you going to return to the dynasty? Bai Junyu slowly walked over. Since the principal and vice principal announced the news, many cultivators had packed up and were ready to return to the dynasty to participate in the assessment. If they passed the assessment and had the opportunity to participate in the selection competition, they would participate in the selection competition. If they did not pass the assessment, then they would return to the college. Although everyone was extremely excited, only a small portion of them were able to participate in the selection competition. Most of the cultivators did not have the opportunity to participate. It was said that each dynasty only had a few places or even a dozen places. This point alone showed how fierce the competition was. Xia Jiqing's eyebrows slightly wrinkled. I want to wait for 2 days. Hong Zhuang may be back. If she comes back, I will go with her to participate in the assessment. She and Hong Zhuang had known each other for so long. Naturally, she had a certain understanding of Hong Zhuang's life. Fengbo country was a place that Hong Zhuang did not have a good impression of. Hong Zhuang was not willing to go to Fengbo country to compete for a place, so it was better to go with her to other dynasties. Listening to Xia Jiqing's answer, Bai Junyu was not surprised. Xia Jiqing had always regarded Bailey Hongzhuang as her best friend. Bailey Hongzhuang had been away for so many days, and Xia Jiqing had been thinking about her. Now it was normal for Xia Jiqing to wait for Bailey Hongzhuang to participate together. He had already expected this before. Then I'll wait with you for a few days. Bailey Hongzhuang will probably be back soon. Bai Junyu smiled faintly. He felt that it was good to have a chance to accompany Xia Jiqing for a few more days. Once one of them passed the test and participated in the selection, they wouldn't be able to see each other for a long time. When Gong Xiaoqing and the others walked over and heard Bai Junyu's words, everyone immediately revealed ambiguous smiles. Although Bai Junyu and Xia Jiqing had never broken through this layer of window paper, all of them had already tacitly agreed that the two were a couple. Gong Xiaoqing, Dong Fangyu, when are you planning to leave? Seeing Gong Xiaoqing and Dong Fangyu, Zhang Yunfeng asked curiously. Now that many people had begun to prepare, they couldn't stay at the school for too long. After all, once they missed it, it would be a big regret. Gong Xiaoqing and Dong Fangyu looked at each other and said, our thoughts are the same as Xia Jiqing's. Wait a few more days. If Hongzhuang hasn't returned, we will leave. Chapter 1104. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen rushed all the way to Tiangang's sect. Tiangang's sect was far away, but Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen obviously would not care about the exhaustion during the journey. The closer to Tiangang's sect, Bailey Hongzhuang's heart became calmer and calmer. With Di Beichen by her side, even if she reached Tiangang's sect, there would be no danger. The only thing she needed to care about was Han Shiling's verbal attack on her. Hongzhuang, Tiangang's sect is in front. Di Beichen's handsome face outlined an elegant and charming smile, and looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly, and from Di Beichen's expression, she could see his feelings for Tiangang's sect. Where he lived since he was a child, even if there were some people in the sect who didn't like, he had great feelings for Tiangang's sect. Looking in the direction pointed by Di Beichen, Bailey Hongzhuang only saw the mountains and Cyan. In addition, there were no buildings at all, let alone such a large sect as Tiangang's sect. In this regard, Bailey Hongzhuang was not surprised. Sects and major forces have always maintained a certain degree of concealment. If you don't know the way to enter the sect, you can't get in even if you stay here for 10 days or half a month. This is the camouflage of the sect and the means to protect the sect. Bailey Hongzhuang had a certain understanding of her previous life. There was also a camouflage outside the Bailey family, and only the cultivators of the Bailey family could enter. At that time, even some small villages near the Bailey family didn't even know that the famous Bailey family was not far from them. The camouflage of each sect was different. Therefore, Bailey Hongzhuang did not know where Tiangang's sect was in the mountains. Looking at Bailey Hongzhuang's puzzled look, Di Beichen's smile widened a little. This is the camouflage of Tiangang's sect. There is a small enchantment here that hides Tiangang's sect. I see. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled, just from this enchantment can see the strength of Tiangang's zone. After following Di Beichen for a while, Di Beichen finally stopped. Then, Bailey Hongzhuang saw Di Beichen's hands move continuously. Gradually, an energy rune appeared in his hands. In the next moment, Di Beichen pushed this energy rune forward. Bailey Hongzhuang noticed that a rune that was exactly the same as Di Beichen's rune appeared in the air. As these two runes merged into one, the air suddenly set off a ripple, as if a transparent door gradually opened. A new world appeared in front of Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang saw a group of dense mountains, and on the largest mountain in the middle, a huge white building complex appeared in her sight. Obviously, that was Tiangang's sect. The dazzling golden sunlight shone on Tiangang's sect. The mysterious Tiangang's sect at this moment looked holy and mighty, making people feel reverence. It was like a paradise. Bailey Hongzhuang felt that the yuan power in the air here was much richer than the outside world. Looking at the familiar Tiangang's sect, Di Beichen's eyes were filled with a smile, then he held Bailey Hongzhuang's soft hand. Wife, let's go up. Chapter 1105. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen walked towards Tiangang's sect. The Tiangang sect disciples guarding the foot of the mountain immediately revealed themselves when they saw Di Beichen. Greetings, young sect master. The two of them bowed respectfully. From their attitude, it was obvious that they respected Di Beichen. However, the two of them couldn't help but look at Bailey Hongzhuang and finally at Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang who were holding hands. This is my wife. Noticing the two of them sizing her up, Bewitching suddenly spoke out. The two disciples were stunned when they heard this. However, their reaction speed was extremely fast and they immediately greeted respectfully, young sect master's wife. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Bewitching in astonishment. She didn't expect Bewitching to be so straightforward. However, Bewitching winked and smiled at Bailey Hongzhuang before continuing to walk up the mountain. He brought Hongzhuang back this time to introduce Hongzhuang's identity to everyone and let everyone know that Hongzhuang was his wife. As for the other groundless rumors, they should have completely dissipated by now. He didn't want Hongzhuang to suffer any grievances and didn't want to make Hongzhuang feel uneasy. This simple and direct method was the best. After Bewitching and Bailey Hongzhuang left, the two disciples guarding the mountain couldn't help but be shocked. Looks like what senior sister Han said is indeed right. Young sect master really has someone he likes outside. However, according to what senior Han said, young sect master's wife is a woman who climbs up the social ladder. However, young sect master's wife doesn't seem to be like this. I think young sect master's wife is really beautiful. Even senior sister Han can't compare to her. The man's face was full of amazement. There had always been a lot of beauties in Tiangang's sect, but Han Xiling was definitely the most outstanding one among many beauties. Normally, there were countless disciples who admired Han Xiling in the sect. Everyone knew that Han Xiling only had young Master Di in his heart. Although the others admired him, they could only watch from afar. Originally, they thought that young sect master had been agitated after staying outside for 3 years, which was why he found a woman to marry. But now, it seemed that this woman was outstanding in both appearance and temperament. She was a perfect match for the young sect master. Yeah, I think this woman isn't an ordinary person either, right? The two of them looked at each other, their eyes filled with emotions. However, they had no right to speak on this matter. Bailey Hongzhuang followed Bewitching all the way to Tiangang's sect. Tiangang's sect's location was very high, but with their speed, they still arrived very quickly. The moment Bewitching appeared in Tiangang's sect, the entire Tiangang's sect was in an uproar. Bewitching was the disciple of the old sect master, the young sect master of Tiangang's sect, and a famous young talent in the Xingxian continent. No matter from which angle, he was an existence that could not be ignored. Moreover, with Bewitching's reputation in Tiangang's sect, he had always been a person who could call the wind and summon the rain. Here, the female disciples regarded him as their dream lover, while the male disciples regarded him as their idol. In the past, Bewitching had always stayed in Tiangang's sect. Ever since that incident, Bewitching had stayed outside for 3 years. Even now that Bewitching's legs had been healed, he still rarely returned to the sect. Chapter 1106. For a long time, Bewitching had been the perfect lover in the hearts of all the female disciples of Tiangang's sect. Although everyone knew that Han Xiling was interested in Bewitching and the two were often together, according to the research of the female disciples, this was likely to be unrequited love. If Bewitching really liked Han Xiling, then they would have been together a long time ago. Why would they keep a certain distance from each other after knowing each other for so many years? Although Han Xiling usually had a cold and arrogant appearance, everyone could see the feelings for Bewitching. Then, the reason for this was Bewitching. It was precisely because of this that everyone was also very curious about the woman Bewitching liked. They didn't know what kind of woman could capture his confidence. However, according to the recent news from the cultivators around Han Xiling, the woman was a woman who wanted to climb up the branch to become a phoenix. She used some methods to deceive Bewitching to obtain Bewitching's heart. In this regard, everyone instinctively felt disgusted with the woman. Bewitching was the most perfect man in their hearts. Now that he was occupied by such a woman who was not worthy at all, they were naturally unhappy. What made them feel most unacceptable was that Bewitching didn't even care about the matters of Tiangang's sect in order to be with the woman. If it wasn't for an extremely important matter, Bewitching wouldn't have come back and had been accompanying the woman outside. Everyone who knew this also believed in Han Xiling's remarks. If the woman didn't use a shameful method to seduce Di Beichen, why would Di Beichen do this? These days, everyone learned that the selection competition was imminent. Di Beichen was likely to bring Bailey Hongzhuang back. This news undoubtedly caused an uproar in Tiangang's sect. For a long time, Di Beichen had a great and tall image in everyone's mind. He never couldn't distinguish right from wrong. However, since the appearance of Bailey Hongzhuang, everything about Di Beichen had become different from before. Now he actually intended to use his identity to let Bailey Hongzhuang stay in Tiangang's sect. This was not in line with his previous style. When Di Beichen held Bailey Hongzhuang's hand and appeared in front of everyone, the disciples of Tiangang's sect were stunned for a moment. They didn't expect Di Beichen to really bring Bailey Hongzhuang back. However, the appearance of Bailey Hongzhuang was somewhat different from what everyone had imagined previously. According to their thoughts, since Bailey Hongzhuang could make Di Beichen bewitched, her appearance wouldn't be bad. Therefore, everyone thought that Bailey Hongzhuang would grow up to be a seductive fox spirit. However, now it seemed that Bailey Hongzhuang was clearly not a fox spirit. That gorgeous face was enough to make any woman feel ashamed of her inferiority, and that cold and outstanding temperament revealed the demeanor of a great family. This kind of temperament couldn't be cultivated without a long time of nurturing. Moreover, the way she stood proudly beside Di Beichen didn't make people feel that they were unsuitable. On the contrary, the two of them seemed to be a match made in heaven. Even their temperament had merged into one. She allowed Di Beichen to hold her hand. Her beautiful and refined face was filled with calmness. Facing everyone's gaze, she was so calm and collected. Chapter 1107. Feeling everyone's gaze, Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled into a faint smile. It seemed that Han Xiling really lived up to her expectations and created a lot of rumors for her in Tiangang's sect. If Han Xiling hadn't interfered, she was afraid that these disciples wouldn't have revealed such an expression when they saw her. She didn't care about everyone sizing her up. The more she evaded, the more it would make everyone feel that she was guilty. On the contrary, the calmer she appeared, it would make everyone doubt Han Xiling's words. This time coming to Tiangang's sect was a game between her and Han Xiling. Even though this was a place that Han Xiling was familiar with, it was still unknown who would win and who would lose in the end. This is Bailey Hongzhuang. No wonder young sect master is so fond of her. Such a beauty, which man wouldn't be tempted? The male disciples of Tiangang's sect sized up Bailey Hongzhuang with excitement in their eyes. Even if Bailey Hongzhuang didn't say anything, they felt that Bailey Hongzhuang wasn't as bad as Han Xiling said. The male disciples were far less easily misled by Han Xiling's remarks than the female disciples. In their view, young sect master's vision naturally wouldn't be bad. No matter from which aspect, young sect master was an impeccable existence, so the person that he liked definitely wouldn't be too bad. Otherwise, young sect master's heart would have long been hooked by a woman. How could he be indifferent to Han Xiling for so many years? Compared to the excitement of the male disciples, the female disciples snorted disdainfully. You guys only know how to judge people by their appearance. I think Senior Han is better than Bailey Hongzhuang. At least Senior Han's strength is very powerful. This Bailey Hongzhuang has no other redeeming qualities other than her appearance. If she didn't hook up with young sect master, she would just be a person in a small dynasty. Senior Sister Han's words are completely correct. Young sect head actually brought Bailey Hongzhuang here. If I let Bailey Hongzhuang stay in Tiangang's sect like this, I can't accept it. The female disciples shook their heads one after another. They had all spent a lot of effort to become a disciple of Tiangang's sect. If Bailey Hongzhuang did nothing and directly entered, it would make people feel unbalanced. Although the voices of the surrounding cultivators were soft, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen, as cultivators, could still hear them clearly. Di Beichen's eyebrows were tightly knitted. His handsome face was covered with a layer of displeasure, and his starry eyes were gloomy. Although he had already guessed that there would be many cultivators in the sect talking about Hongzhuang, he did not expect that Han Xiling would describe Hongzhuang in such a way. At this moment, Di Baichen truly understood that Han Xiling was not as simple as he had previously thought. He didn't know if it was because he had changed too much in the past few years, or because he had never paid attention to Han Xiling before. For him, he used to only cultivate and improve his cultivation at the request of his master. His biggest goal was to lead Tiangang's sect to become stronger for his master. In addition, he had never taken the relationship between men and women to heart. Even if everyone said that he and Han Xiling were extremely compatible, he had never taken it seriously until he met Bailey Hongzhuang. It turned out that many things in this world were destined by fate. Before meeting the right person, everything was nothingness, but once you met, it was a real life. Chapter 1108. Di Baichen held Bailey Hongzhuang's hand tightly and looked at Bailey Hongzhuang worriedly, only to see Bailey Hongzhuang smiling at him. She had already prepared for this kind of small trick when she came to Tiangang's sect, so she didn't care at all. Moreover, it was useless even if she cared about this kind of thing. As long as she showed her strength, all these rumors would be dispelled. Rumors were sometimes a terrifying force, but when you didn't care at all, there would come a day when you would use the truth to give the other party a tight slap. Bailey Hongzhuang shook her head at Di Baichen, indicating that she was fine. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang's indifferent appearance without any hidden sadness or pain, Di Baichen's heart was finally at ease. He also knew that these rumors weren't formed in a day or two. Even if he explained it now, it would be useless. On the contrary, it might have the opposite effect. "Wife, let's go in first," Di Baichen said gently. "All right." Bailey Hongzhuang's lips bloomed into an elegant smile like a green lotus. She nodded her head and followed Di Baichen in. Han Xiling was overjoyed when she heard the news of Di Baichen's return. Di Baichen had left this time, so she hadn't seen Di Baichen for several months. "Miss, just as you guessed, young sect master came back with Bailey Hongzhuang. I heard that young sect master had been holding Bailey Hongzhuang's hand and hadn't let go. Obviously, he cares a lot about Bailey Hongzhuang," Tao Tsongrong said as she looked at Han Xiling's expression. Her face was filled with dissatisfaction and worry. Hearing this, Han Xiling's cold and arrogant face also curled into a sneer. This Bailey Hongzhuang is really brave. She actually dared to come to Tiangang's sect with Brother Di. Does she really think that she is the mistress of Tiangang's sect? Han Xiling narrowed her eyes and a malicious and cold light flashed in her eyes. Last time, she lost face in front of Bailey Hongzhuang because of a moment of carelessness. This time, everyone in Tiangang's sect was on her side. She would let Bailey Hongzhuang know the gap between them. An existence like her could never be compared to a grassroots woman like Bailey Hongzhuang. Di Dage wasn't someone she, Bailey Hongzhuang, could reach. That Bailey Hongzhuang is naturally very shameless. She shamelessly followed us, but I believe that she will not appear in Tiangang's sect soon. Tao Tsongrong's face was full of smiles. She had never seen any woman who could fight against Mississippi. Bailey Hongzhuang was naturally no exception. This time, Bailey Hongzhuang was really asking for humiliation. Miss did not intend to let her go this time. Han Xiling smiled and nodded. She had already thought about everything. Not to mention her status and reputation in Tiangang's sect, just the opposition of the elders was enough to give Brother Di a headache. She did not believe that Brother Di could still be stubborn under everyone's opposition. As for Bailey Hongzhuang, in a large force like Tiangang's sect, it was impossible to have a foothold here without sufficient background and strength. She could only say that Bailey Hongzhuang's thoughts were too naive. She only hoped that Bailey Hongzhuang could not collapse under such a blow. Chapter 1109. Hearing Tao Tsongrong's words, Han Xiling glanced coldly at Tao Tsongrong. Noticing Han Xiling's gaze, Tao Tsongrong immediately shut her mouth and did not dare to continue speaking. She almost forgot that the young mistress was most angry with the young sect master's attitude. She just wanted to stand up for the young mistress. "Let's go out." Han Xiling's eyes were filled with coldness. she wanted to go out and welcome Di Beichen. At this time, she naturally had to appear. An excited smile appeared on Tao Tsongrong's face. She immediately followed behind Han Xiling and went out together. She also wanted to see what kind of sacred being Bailey Hongzhuang was to be able to charm such a person like the young sect master. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen went all the way forward. The Tiangang sect's area was also very large. Along the way, there were many Tiangang sect disciples. At this time, it was the time for the disciples to cultivate. With the appearance of Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen, all the disciples paid attention to the two of them and constantly greeted Di Beichen. Behind them, there were also many disciples who walked all the way here just to watch the show. After all, Han Xiling liked Di Beichen. Now that Di Beichen had returned with Bailey Hongzhuang, Han Xiling would definitely not miss it. Once Han Xiling and Bailey Hongzhuang met face to face, it would be a very lively event. Usually, most of the Tiangang sect disciples were cultivating and there were not many lively events. Now that there was such a rare scene, everyone naturally did not want to miss it. Brother Di. Just as the two of them were walking, suddenly, a cold and pleasant female voice came from not far ahead. Hearing this voice, Bailey Hongzhuang knew that there was no one else other than Han Xiling. Soon, a green figure gradually appeared in their line of sight. Han Xiling's outfit was the same as before. The light green dress set off her proud and cold temperament. Her beautiful face was filled with a faint smile. After seeing Di Beichen, the smile deepened. The disciples present could not help but sigh when they saw Han Xiling appear. Han Xiling had always been the goddess in their hearts. Han Xiling is here. It will be lively in a while. Han Xiling's temperament is really amazing. An ice beauty, but Bailey Hongzhuang's temperament does not lose to Han Xiling. Everyone looked at each other. Before she arrived at the Tiangang sect, everyone thought that Han Xiling's temperament and appearance would definitely crush Bailey Hongzhuang. It was because of this that everyone felt that Di Beichen did not have a good eye. However, now that the two women were standing close to each other, the crowd realized that the situation was not what they had imagined. Han Xiling's appearance was not the most outstanding. However, because of her cold and arrogant temperament, everyone felt that she was unattainable. On the contrary, it added a trace of indescribable charm. However, Bailey Hongzhuang's appearance and temperament had reached the pinnacle. Her perfect face could be said to be the dream lover in every man's heart. In terms of temperament, Han Xiling's temperament was simple. Bailey Hongzhuang's temperament, on the other hand, was ever-changing. When facing the crowd, she was cold and aloof. However, when facing Di Beichen, she was charming and fragrant. Just based on this point, Bailey Hongzhuang had already won. Her appearance had already fulfilled every man's dream. Chapter 11:10. Tao Tsongrong had intended to teach Bailey Hongzhuang a good lesson. How dare such an unpresentable woman shout at their young miss? She was simply courting death. However, when Tao Tsongrong saw Bailey Hongzhuang, she was at a loss for words. This Bailey Hongzhuang did not seem to match the young miss description. Her temperament was on par with the young miss. The so-called country bumpkin had nothing to do with Bailey Hongzhuang. Big brother Di, you're back. Han Xiling's beautiful face was filled with a joyful smile. She walked directly to Di Beichen's side and acted intimately as if she had just seen her sweetheart return. She acted as if she did not notice Bailey Hongzhuang beside Di Beichen. She had completely ignored Bailey Hongzhuang. However, no one noticed the cold light that flashed in Han Xiling's eyes when she saw Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang holding hands. At this moment, she naturally did not want to lose to Bailey Hongzhuang. She immediately held Di Beichen's arm with one hand. Seeing Han Xiling's actions after she had appeared, Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled into a faint smile. It was as if everything that Han Xiling had done had nothing to do with her. Han Xiling's actions were undoubtedly trying to make her unhappy by ignoring or even forcibly occupying her. Then, she would do something that would damage her image. If it was a 16-year-old girl, it was very likely that she would do such a trick. However, she would not. Noticing Han Shiling's actions, Di Baichen could not help but frown. When Han Shiling held his arm, he had already quietly pulled his hand away. Han Shiling's face instantly turned ugly. Di Baichen's attitude undoubtedly made her lose face in front of everyone. This scene naturally did not escape everyone's eyes. At this moment, everyone understood that all of this was true. Di Baichen did not like Han Shiling. He liked Bailey Hongzhuang. Big brother Di. Han Shiling looked at Di Baichen with some disappointment. She had never let go of her pride like this. However, Di Baichen actually treated her like this. It was really sad. Di Baichen understood the sadness in Han Shiling's heart. However, if he was indecisive, he would be in trouble. From the moment he pursued Bailey Hongzhuang, he had already decided to take responsibility for Bailey Hongzhuang. He did not want Han Shiling to continue to persist. Also, Shiling, this is your sister-in-law. Di Baichen introduced. As soon as these words came out, Han Shiling's face stiffened. The last time they met, Di Baichen was at least not so direct. However, this time, Di Baichen actually said such words in front of so many disciples of Tiangang's sect. This completely destroyed her hope. Han Shiling's gaze could not help but fall on Bailey Hongzhuang. However, when she saw Bailey Hongzhuang's indifferent expression and looked at her with a faint smile, her face turned even uglier. Big brother Di, feeling everyone's gaze, Han Shiling really did not know what to say. She did not expect Di Baichen to be so decisive when they just met. This was completely different from the situation she imagined. When Tao Tsongrong saw the situation, she hurriedly spoke out, "Young sect master, you obviously know how young miss feels towards you. How can you be so heartless and say such things?" Chapter 11:11. Following Tao Tsongrong's words, there was a moment of silence in the surroundings. Although everyone understood Han Shiling's feelings for Di Baichen, Han Shiling had never publicly admitted it. Now that Tao Tsongrong directly exposed all of this, there was no doubt that the matter had become clearer. Everyone's gaze fell on Di Baichen, but they didn't know how Di Baichen would answer. Bailey Hongzhuang was also somewhat helpless. This Han Shiling walking out now was undoubtedly asking for humiliation. She thought that Han Shiling would be smarter and use some tricks behind their backs. She didn't expect that when they just arrived at Tiangang's sect, Han Shiling would make a big move in front of them. It was really unexpected. Tsongrong. Han Shiling frowned and glared at Tao Tsongrong. She, Han Shiling, had always been a high and mighty princess. How could she show such a humble begging appearance in front of everyone? Tao Tsongrong was startled and then closed her mouth. Did she say something wrong again? Han Shiling's gaze fell on Bailey Hongzhuang, and he immediately smiled and said, "Miss Bailey, you're here too." Seeing that Han Shiling directly skipped Di Baichen's words, the cultivators present all looked at each other. Just from this attitude, they already understood. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly, and her gorgeous face was filled with an indifferent and polite smile. "We meet again, Miss Han." Looking at Bailey Hongzhuang's dignified and elegant appearance, Han Shiling's eyes revealed a trace of anger. He didn't expect this Bailey Hongzhuang to be so good at pretending. She was obviously just an unfavored young lady from a small dynasty's general's residence, but she had to pretend to be a lady from a noble family. It was really disgusting. Although Han Shiling did not like Bailey Hongzhuang very much, the cultivators present did not feel that Bailey Hongzhuang was really a big shot. As soon as Han Shiling appeared, his attacks were clearly displayed. However, Bailey Hongzhuang remained calm and collected from start to finish. Comparing the two of them, it was clear who was the victor. If not for the fact that everyone was very clear about this, they would have thought that the identities of Han Shiling and Bailey Hongzhuang had been swapped. After Han Shiling and Bailey Hongzhuang greeted each other, the atmosphere suddenly stiffened. Although Han Shiling and Bailey Hongzhuang were smiling on the surface, everyone knew that the two women had already ignited the flames of war. It was just that they didn't erupt in front of everyone. Bewitching frowned slightly. Just as he was about to break the deadlock, a deep and weathered voice sounded. "Young sect master, you're back." As this familiar and majestic voice sounded, everyone looked in the direction of the source of the voice. An old man in a white robe slowly appeared in front of everyone. The old man was 60 or 70 years old. Although his figure was stooped, his eyes were unusually bright, giving people a sense of majesty and experience. Seeing the person, Bewitching also said, "Great Elder." Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang immediately understood that this person was Han Shiling's grandfather, Tiangang sect's Great Elder, Han Hongyi. "Greetings to Great Elder." Bailey Hongzhuang bowed. Since she had already come to Tiangang sect, she would do the necessary etiquette. "Greetings to Great Elder." All the disciples present bowed. Han Hongyi's position in Tiangang sect was extremely high. When the young sect master was not in Tiangang sect, many things were decided by Han Hongyi. Chapter 11-12. Grandpa. Han Shiling called out softly, her beautiful face showed a bit of grievance. Bewitching's actions today really made her feel very wronged. Now she only hoped that Han Hongyi could uphold justice for her. Han Hongyi glanced at Han Shiling, and his expression was somewhat helpless. He knew his granddaughter's temperament very well. Her heart was usually higher than the sky. Liking Bewitching was not a matter of 1 or 2 days. He always felt that Han Shiling and Bewitching were very compatible. Almost everyone thought that Han Shiling and Bewitching would definitely be a couple in the future. He did not expect it to become like this now. However, since it was the person his granddaughter liked, he would try his best to fulfill his granddaughter's wish. Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching were not compatible at all. Before, they did not say much because Bewitching had suffered for 3 years in Fengbo country. Now Bewitching was obviously serious about Bailey Hongzhuang. They could not let Bewitching continue to be like this. Han Hongyi's gaze fell on Bewitching's body and said, "Now go to the meeting hall. Everyone is waiting for you, alone." Han Hongyi then looked at Han Shiling. "Shiling, you take Miss Bailey to her residence first." From beginning to end, Han Hongyi did not look at Bailey Hongzhuang. With Bailey Hongzhuang's identity, she was just a passerby of Tiangang sect. After this time, Bailey Hongzhuang would not set foot here again. He did not need to care. Noticing Han Hongyi's attitude, Bewitching frowned. Just from the attitude of the Great Elder, he already knew that the situation was very complicated. Bailey Hongzhuang glanced at Bewitching and said, "Go quickly." Bewitching left Tiangang sect for several months, and what happened during this period of time, he just listened to the news from outside. Now that he had returned, he was afraid that the elders would not be in a good mood. He indeed needed to explain himself. As for Han Hongyi's attitude, she didn't care either. Han Shiling was Han Hongyi's granddaughter. Naturally, Han Hongyi would side with Han Shiling. Thinking about it, it was probably her appearance that ruined their wishful thinking, so it was normal that Han Hongyi didn't like her. In the entire Tiangang sect, the only thing she cared about was the attitude of Master Bewitching. Other than that, no one else meant anything to her. Bewitching nodded slightly, and then he said to Han Shiling, "Shiling, you take Hongzhuang to my house first." Listening to Bewitching's words, Han Shiling's face turned ugly. Bewitching actually took Bailey Hongzhuang to his residence. Bewitching had always disliked others going to his residence. Even she had no chance to enter his house on weekdays. However, now he directly asked Bailey Hongzhuang to go to his place. Just this point, the difference had already been obvious. Bewitching gave Bailey Hongzhuang a "don't worry" look before leaving with Han Hongyi. After Bewitching and Bailey Hongzhuang left, Han Shiling looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. Although she tried to maintain the arrogance on her face, Bailey Hongzhuang had already seen her anger. Han Shiling wanted to flare up, but she saw that many cultivators around were looking at them curiously. She could only say, "Follow me." Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly, and then followed Han Xiling to Di Beichen's residence. Chapter 11-13. Following the departure of Bailey Hongzhuang and Han Xiling, the crowd began to talk. Although the confrontation had only lasted for a short moment, everyone had already understood many things. At the very least, Bailey Hongzhuang had won the confrontation just now. Bailey Hongzhuang did not say anything, but Di Beichen had already expressed his attitude. Based on this point alone, Bailey Hongzhuang had already won. Looking at the situation, this seems to be senior sister Han's wishful thinking. Although this is the first time I've seen Bailey Hongzhuang, I feel that this Bailey Hongzhuang is not as bad as the rumors say. On the contrary, I feel that she's very noble and elegant. You can't believe all the rumors, but the elders might object. Let's see what their attitude is after this meeting. Everyone's eyes sparkled with excitement and curiosity. All along, Di Beichen and Han Xiling had been the center of everyone's conversation. Even if they had been living peacefully in the past, they could not help but talk about it. What more now that such a huge incident had happened? No matter what, I support the young sect leader. That's right, the person that the young sect leader likes is the young sect leader's wife. Many cultivators present supported Di Beichen. As the young sect leader of Tiangang's sect, Di Beichen's reputation was naturally not low. When Di Beichen was forced to leave Tiangang's sect due to pressure, most of the disciples in the sect were extremely dissatisfied. However, their demands could not be resisted by the four palace masters. In the end, Di Beichen still left. However, even if Di Beichen left, the other powerful successors were still unable to be compared to Di Beichen in their hearts. The young sect leader was the young sect leader, and no one could replace him. Now that they saw Di Beichen return, they were extremely excited. As for who Di Beichen liked, there was nothing wrong with that. Moreover, Bailey Hongzhuang was nothing like the vixen that Tao Tsongrong described. Linking the two together, many people felt that Han Xiling was deliberately smearing Bailey Hongzhuang's reputation. His underhanded methods were already very obvious. Bailey Hongzhuang did not know what everyone was thinking. To her, their thoughts were not important. However, she was a little worried about Di Beichen. After all, there were still many people in Tiangang's sect who coveted Di Beichen's position as the young lord. If those people had not joined forces to force Di Beichen to leave, Di Beichen would not have been forced to go to Fengbo country. Now that Di Beichen had returned, it was obvious that many people's dreams had been shattered. Naturally, they wanted to use this opportunity to deal with Di Beichen. Her appearance undoubtedly gave everyone a chance to attack. However, she believed in Di Beichen's strength. Those people who coveted things that did not belong to them would one day completely disappear from Tiangang's sect. Master, this Han Xiling is coming aggressively. Xiao Hei's eyes darted around. Just from the way Han Xiling walked in front of her, she could see the anger in Han Xiling's heart. If it were not for the occasional appearance of cultivators along the way, Han Xiling would have exploded long ago. What's the use of her coming aggressively? Didn't she just embarrass herself in front of everyone? The real sect leader's wife is here. It's useless no matter how much trouble she makes. Xiao Bai appeared to be very calm. As long as Di Beichen's heart was with Bailey Hongzhuang, then everything was already set. You're tuning into the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.